All right, Nancy, you are on the big screen.
Yeah, oh boy. No makeup. Hair's not brushed.
You're on vacation. You have a good excuse.
Yes. Oh. Hmm.
Did it where? Did it where? Okay. Oh, yeah. No. That would be in my head. Are they? Okay. Why would I do something different than normal?
Yeah. Oh. All right. Oh, that's me. Mhm. Well, thank you. As long as I don't bite it by accident.
A heart monitor.
What have we had?
I've
We
worn
have
these before.
Put it on, it's where you shoot.
Nancy's visiting us via vacation.
Feel them stick on you.
There she is.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, it absorbs it, sucks it all up.
So you can feel this. You feel it. You leave that.
Yeah, so you can pull it out.
Oh, hard coaster. I'm a little slow.
Also, when your kids drop rocks in there, they don't rattle around it. That's right. It softens it.
That's right. They're completely biodegradable. They can be reused in your kitchen once they're full.
You can.
I know the guy that invents these, and I'm just trying to do him a favor. They can have any kind of label on them, so we can put our Sweet Home label on them,
Like
for
in
any of the
your
departments.
folder. It's like a
Make
coaster.
some cool swag.
You just drop it.
That's, there you go.
That's pretty good.
All right, good morning. Oh, are we recording?
Are we recording?
Good morning. Let's initiate the, what is today? August 21st, 2024 Park and Tree Committee meeting. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I didn't mess it up this time.
You had it written on the back of your
I
hand.
focused.
There's no dancing room back here.
Okay. Let's do a roll call of the committee members.
Matthew Bechtel,
Present.
Lena Tucker. Present. Wally Shreves.
Present.
Bob Dalton,
Present.
Nancy Patton,
Here,
Deborah Northern.
Here,
Okay, all are accounted for.
Great, thank you. And time reports, I believe we turned in the sheet. Yeah, so by the way, kudos to Lena for thinking about actually bringing the sheet. So, made it work a lot simpler this time. Moving forward, give this moments an opportunity for public comment if there's anybody out there online or the crowd in the back wants to say something.
could I say something about Patty Hulk?
In a few minutes.
Okay,
You'll have to wait till we get down a ways.
On your printed agenda, for some reason, it says public comment twice. The first one is supposed to be minutes. I don't know mine, where it printed from says minutes. Yours, for some odd reason, says public comment twice. So
Okay,
where it says 2024 7/17 Park and Tree Committee minutes, that's, that's supposed to be, the title's supposed to be minutes.
got it. So with that said, would you please review the Park and Tree Committee minutes from the last meeting? And I'll need a motion to approve in a second.
I move that we approve our minutes from last month's meeting.
I second that.
So all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Please note for record, there are no opposed. Meeting minutes are approved. And let's move on down to the beautification committee. So Nancy, you had an announcement for Patty?
well, and Bob might be able to add to it too, but excuse me. She had been in the hospital. She had too many strokes. And I got a text back from her daughter yesterday, said that she was on the way home now and she should recover much easier at home. So, or better at home. But anyway, that was pretty shocking to see that happen to her. Did you hear anything else, Bob?
Well, I know she got home last night.
Right.
She's recovering slowly but surely. She's going in for some speech therapy and some physical therapy, but she is recovering. She's able to recognize everyone and speak in that, and speak in that. So she's made a turn for the better.
So I would like our Parks Board to send her a little card or something. Tell her that we're just thinking about her. Darn it, I have a frog in my mouth. Sorry. But I would like, I've kept in touch with her daughter, but I think it'd just be nice coming from our Parks Board and the city to encourage her that we're thinking about her.
Bob, is that something you can run with?
Yeah, I will do that.
Okay.
Question, with her being out, who is a point of contact? Because I do need to get hours, not to diminish what's happening to her. I was going to actually send out an email today getting hours for the last couple months.
I'll follow up, see if I can find out who that contact person is for you.
Okay,
And
thank
get
you.
it back to you.
Okay, thank you. And if you talk to her, wish her my best.
Okay.
Oh, Ashley just told me that it was Candy Snyder is doing her position right now. That's what Ashley just said.
Okay, I'll try to get her contact information. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that'll take care of the beautification committee for today. Let's keep Patty in our prayers and
Mhm.
hope we see her again here in the next month or so. Let's move on down to the health fair wrap up. Bob, again?
I'm glad it's over. I mean, we really lucked out. I mean, that thing was over at 2 o'clock and that's when the rain started. So, it went really well. I mean, you kind of try to measure how many people come to this event. It's a tough one unless you have somebody come through a turn gate, but snow cones, we probably gave out over 400. So I guess if you measure it in quantity of snow cones you handed out, but it was kind of interesting. We had one little kid, out of all of the ones we handed out, he came back and he said, I don't mean to be rude, but he said you need to double up on the ice and the syrup. So I guess that was our first worst critic we could have had during the event, but it was a good event. We had a cross section of different vendors that we hadn't before. Got a lot of positive feedback from those individuals. They spent a lot of time cross visiting with each other, which was something we encouraged. Kind of an interesting number that I kind of follow to know if we're getting the right audience and touching the right things. And it seems like an odd one to look at, but Samaritan hands out the Narcans for overdoses. And this year we handed out over 4 cases of those things.
Wow.
So last year we probably handed out maybe a dozen. This year, close to 80 of them. So, you know, it's hard to hear that number, but if people are reaching out and that's a good thing. And for the treatment recovery programs that were there, 8 people signed up to get help, which was another kind of an outstanding thing. We had not saw that before in this event. So, you know, touched the right thing and the people. So it was a good event. It was good to see the park and tree group there well represented by this committee. And I appreciate that. So moving on for next year, I guess.
Thank you, Bob, for all your hard work.
You're welcome.
And we definitely had a quorum because everyone was there.
Yeah.
Which was shocking to me. It was like absolutely everybody made it to that. And we actually didn't talk anything about Park and Tree. So
Well, we always look for thinking, what can we do next year differently? And one thing we used to do was a wellness walk. And I thought, how do we tie the Park and Tree in that? And I got to thinking that, you know, if the Park and Tree may do a walk from Sankey Park just over to the high school, start it there and move it, let them come there. That might be a good method of tying in the park just a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
And get them to do a health walk, something simple and easy.
that's a good idea.
That's
It is
neat.
a good idea.
One of the things we had this year, knowing that the kids were going to get backpacks, is we had a back to school theme. We had rulers, we had pencils and pencil sharpeners this time, and carabiners for their backpacks. And I think those
And
were,
blue is a
the
popular
mark.
color.
yes, everybody wanted blue.
Mhm.
So with that swag in mind, Matthew passed out these coasters. So maybe I'll give a moment here for him to talk about these and the opportunities that these may shed on our committee going forward.
All right. Rattling yours. Sure. So these are called car coaster cards. They go in your cup holders in your car. They will absorb the moisture if you spill a drink because it's a compressed sponge in here. It's fully biodegradable. So you can plant them in your garden when you're done. But I think the cool thing about it that works for us is the label. These are all just samples. So we could put any sticker label on here that we want. So we could put our Sweet Home label. We could put a Park and Tree label. And when people put this in their cup holders in their car, every time they go to put a cup down, they're going to see the logo and then say, oh, Park and Tree, I need to get out to the park. And, you know, I got to take my kid to swing at Sankey. So
Excellent.
I think that's how these will really work out for us. I have no financial interest in these at all. I just know the guy who makes them and he's just a friend. So I figured I'd see if we could use them for something. So, yeah.
I thought if we do the cut, well, I didn't think of it. Somebody mentioned it. If we did the cut the gut next year, that would be a good swag to give out for
Yeah.
people.
It's car related.
Fairly
Yeah.
economical, to get. And I think they're edible because it doesn't say they're.
Depends on what you soak up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, what, if you want to eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So logistically, how do so we just do get him a JPEG of the logo?
Yeah, that's all
Okay.
you need.
So we don't actually have a park and tree committee logo. We have
No.
a city logo.
Which is fine.
I mean, we may be able to take the logo and then put park and tree committee somewhere on it. We'll have to take a look at that.
The broccoli tree is not our logo.
No. I mean, you could see on your agenda, that's the actual logo.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there could be a way to do that on there. So,
I think the one that's on Matthew's black shirt
Yeah.
is a round,
that's what,
Mhm.
It's the same.
that's what that is.
but I think it says Park and Tree Committee on it. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
At least I've seen, some of our swag, some of our uniform or jackets and things, they'll have the city logo, and then below that, they'll have the department or the committee or.
Okay.
something like that.
Mhm.
For something like this, basically, if you just take the tagline off the bottom and just replace it with the word parks and just have it say Sweet Home Parks.
Yeah.
All that gets the message across, because I don't think we're really trying to drive traffic to our committee. meetings,
There you
but
go.
Yeah.
Parks themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the name of the parks would be good.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
my mic was off, so I apologize, Nancy.
Yeah.
What I
That's
suggested
okay.
was just having one that says Sweet Home Parks, and that'd be a pretty easy modification to our current city logo. Nuts and bolts wise, we need to look at budget and see how this fits in, but if this is something that we want to pursue, staff can put together some options and look into it.
Sure.
Great. Thank you.
Just thinking of cost, do you have like a price sheet, like a setup fee plus
I do.
how many,
Costs.
if you go to, does he have a website?
He sent me a spreadsheet. in
Okay.
my Email.
Okay.
Matthew, if you could send that to me and then we could take a look at it and look at the budget.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
Okay, thank you.
And it would be something too, even the chamber could display, because I know I was in chamber picking up some information. They have all of the parks and city stuff right there and stickers and that. And I thought that'd be a good thing for visitors if they stopped in. Right there it is.
Yeah. Mhm.
Be a good one.
Maybe we could get like wildflower seeds, like stuck
Yeah.
into it also, so that you really can plant it in your garden after you're
That is
done.
an idea.
Wow.
Would be good.
So they go out to their
People that
car.
leave it in their car for too long and start sprouting.
They got plants growing up out of their cup holders.
That's your replace indicator.
Yeah,
That's when you know you need to take it out and replace
you
it.
need to change it.
All right. Yeah, I just say the health fair, as far as the Park and Tree, there was a lot of information that we talked about with people with trees, and being safe with, trees falling and hazardous trees. And I thought that Lena put up some flyers on the front that I thought were awesome. That if it weren't for trees, a hammock would just be a blanket on the ground. There were several little comments
A
like that.
net on the ground.
Yeah. And there were several comments like that on those that I thought really struck home for people to think about how valuable that stuff is and then how it applies. And I really like the idea of the safety walk or health walk for them.
Yeah, for
And
the
that would
parks.
also draw attention to the park. So,
That would be an easy.
I
Yeah.
kind of had fun with one young gal that stepped up to their table. She came up there and of course she's looking at everything that's out on the table. And I said, well, there's a lot of things to be had here, but you have to answer some questions first. And she kind of looked at me and I said, first question is, can you tell me where Sankey Park is? And she said, next to the Boys and Girls Club. So I said, you got that one right. So it was kind of fun to interact with her like that. And I think the last question was, could you tell us what your name is? I said, there you go. But it was fun to interact with the people there like that. So good experience.
I loved interacting. My big question was, how old is Smokey the Bear?
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Blair, do you know how old Smokey the Bear is?
Actually, I did see that recently. What was it? I don't
He's
know.
eight.
That kid was
My
like
dad,
80
'cause
years
my
old
dad
or something.
Bingo.
Ah, yeah,
He's,
okay,
he's,
80.
he's 80 and Larry says he has no gray hair.
Yep.
He dyes it.
You can have
Well,
pencil.
he's a black bear, right?
Yeah.
So he's got that nice
I
dark
don't
fur.
know. Ask Lena, too.
That's question number 2. What color is Smokey?
Maybe brown bear.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the Park System Master Plan update.
Take that one.
Oh, all right. We've got so the next step for the Parks Master Plan is to have a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission. And then that will be followed by a public hearing in front of the City Council, followed by adoption. And the reason for the public hearings is that this is going to be adopted as an appendix to our comprehensive plan so that it has more weight. And to do that, it's a legislative act, so they have to do the public hearings for that. So those dates, I believe, it was the second meeting in September. For the
19th.
19th, September 19th, Planning Commission meeting is when that public hearing will be. And then the meeting after, there will be the first council meeting in October then for the City Council. And let me look at my calendar real quick. That one will be October 8th.
So
Um,
are we supposed to go to that if there's any
You-
questions or?
You are more than welcome to attend one or both of those. This is something where we don't typically get a lot of, at that level, we don't typically have a lot of interaction. And so it probably would be helpful to have, I don't envision any major issues at the Planning Commission meeting. I imagine most of them will be very happy to pass it and everything like that. But council meetings are a little bit more public, and it's always good to have people speaking in favor of things like this. So if one or both of those meetings fits with your schedules, and you are inclined to voice your support for the plan, that would be appreciated. Please feel free to
Right.
do so.
Great. I look forward to that. Just one thing is a curiosity. In the Parks Master Plan, I'm just confirming my memory. Was there talk about a splash pad in that?
Splash pads is mentioned in there as for, I don't know if I think it mentions Sankey Park as a possible location.
There might be a
Um,
couple locations.
Or
for that.
there are a couple of locations as potential locations that are mentioned. The main thing is it was brought up by the public repeatedly, and so that in all the source materials that go along with the master plan, it ranked pretty highly in our outreach, and so that's kind of that's important because it shows that this publicly adopted document reinforces what we're actually hearing from the public.
Right. Yeah, I was curious
Yeah,
about
it's in
that.
there.
I saw a lot of public comment about the splash pad. Overwhelming amount of comments about it. And so I took it upon myself to actually pay attention to water in the area and how many people are using water not in a splash pad as a cool off area.
Mhm.
And it's flabbergasting how many people are up the Santiam on both sides, just getting into the shallower water to get wet and take their kids out of the heat versus we had something in town. So
Yeah.
I found out maybe it was really viable what they talked about. So
I'd love to find a way to get one in the downtown area.
yeah,
Have it be a downtown amenity.
right.
Is it Albany that just redid their or developed a new one? Was it Albany? Okay, that might be a,
So we briefly touched on splash pads actually yesterday afternoon in the Arts and Culture Committee. They're trying to find a way to possibly incorporate a splash pad with some art. The issue that we're coming up with splash pads is they're exorbitantly expensive. The one that Albany just installed is $6.5 million. The
Wow.
yearly upkeep on it is about $650,000. They
Wow.
cost about triple what a swimming pool does because of the filtration and the chemicals to keep athletes' foot, as well as you have animals that could urinate in them. You have people that could potentially shower in them. It's the filtration and the upkeep is really, really expensive.
Sounds like a
Wow.
nesting station to me.
I think we could just get a community center bandstand then. Just saying.
With a mister on the end of it.
Yeah.
There's one on each side with the.
Yeah, I was
splash.
concerned that it was a
Expensive.
chemical crisis to keep that thing,
Oh,
and probably a lot of well, not severe, but appropriate requirements.
There typically is a vault type filter system.
Yeah.
And on top of chemical filtration, the upkeep is actually the long-term expense.
Yeah.
The initial install is very expensive. Like I said, the one in Albany was 6.5 million. The one that operates in Corvallis down next to their Saturday market was $3 million, and that was put in years and years
yeah,
ago.
years ago.
They're very, very expensive.
Greg, can we tie that into the water treatment project? That's about what it sounds like.
It'd probably be a good way to find some funding, maybe down by the boat launch or, but,
There's already a river there, so I don't know.
it's on.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the lakes look a lot more,
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Wow.
Well, I appreciate that information. That's
Yeah.
actually good for me to know a little bit, because the next time I see people getting excited about it, I have something to say. Do you realize what they cost and the upkeep cost? And they're gonna say, well, I could run a hose out there. And we'll have to have that. There'll be me and the 7 people that argue with me on Facebook.
And it's not to say that it can't happen, but it would be a pretty tremendous fundraising
yeah,
Every year.
every year for many years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
the old slip and slide doesn't seem too bad now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep, like everything else, it's through the roof, but that's the way it is. All right, well, let's move on to the 42nd and Osage update.
So as far as the playground goes, we're, if you aren't aware, we're doing some staff transition right now. So we've slowed down on some things. 42nd Osage will still happen. What has to happen first, though, is the infrastructure part. We will be installing bathrooms, so we need to get the infrastructure in, the paths in. We have picked out the playground equipment. I am working on, just like the Sankey Park playground, I'm working on Game Time provides a grant that matches 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that, and then we'll order the playground equipment. But it's going to take a step. You probably won't see it before the end of this year. So
Yeah.
it'll probably be more of a next year project, but it is still on the list to get it done. The trees were removed. I think things have all been cleaned up over there.
yeah, a lot of debris has been removed. I think there are still some smaller sections of logs in the parking lot that we need to remove, which we are actually going to retain those for parks and other things. And so the cleanup has happened, and I know Dominic's on vacation, but they're looking at offsites and all that right now. So
How did the,
I
how did the,
I
how did
drive
the,
by there. Oops,
go ahead, Nancy.
sorry. Oh, no, I was gonna say, I drive by there frequently and it's looking pretty good. So my only question was, when Kelsey was here, she introduced that play equipment. Are you still gonna go with that, Angela?
The play equipment that we picked out, did it have a layout? There was like multiple pieces to it, separate
Yeah,
pieces.
she had a chart and she showed us.
Yeah, I put it
The
together,
same?
but yeah, it's the same one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be good. As far as the paths, is that something that Public Works will do? I mean, when you have free time?
Yeah.
I think the plan is that Public Works will do probably the majority of some of this. There's even discussion of whether it's going to be a plug and play restroom or we're actually going to construct it. And I think we're looking at those costs, but I think we will be doing majority of lifting. There might be some connections to sewers and things like that. We might
Sure.
be somebody offsite, but for the most part, I believe that we plan on doing those. So,
Okay,
Unless
you.
there's, if we get to the point with hard surface.
Yeah.
yeah,
We
paving, we can't do.
we don't have.
Yeah.
right.
Love to be able to handle the paving though. That'd be cool. If we had the equipment for that.
Yes, so
And
if you do get questions about it, we are still moving forward. It just is not going to be as fast as
Yeah,
originally planned.
Right.
We've got a lot right now that we're trying to
that makes sense.
catch up on.
Yep.
So
Um,
I've talked to a few people in that neighborhood and, well, because I went to a yard sale over there, but anyway, they seem to be happier now that it's moving along.
That's
Oh,
good to hear.
That's good to hear, because we've heard a lot of negative feedback from some very loud
Yeah.
folks. And
Are you
it's-
still getting
know.
that? I mean, recently within the last month?
Not me
not as
directly,
mu-
but
not as much with certain,
the 42nd Osage.
yeah.
Yeah, no, people still complaining, calling in.
Yeah, I haven't seen as much just recently. And two of the people that were adamantly against it, we're not, like, when I say we're not friends, I don't mean I don't like them or I hate them. I'm not friends with them.
They're
But
acquaintances.
I do run into them often, oddly.
Hmm.
And their total hatred for it has diminished.
Yeah.
And it was,
Just because they've stopped complaining to you doesn't mean they've stopped calling us.
no, I mean, I specifically address it with them.
Yeah.
I go at face to face, front to front. Hey, are you still hating this idea? I'm not good at beating around the bush, so.
Well,
um,
I think the unfortunate reality is that a lot of folks who feel positively about things don't actually
Oh,
voice their positivity.
yeah,
And we tend to hear a lot of the negativity. So
Yeah.
it's hard to get an accurate gauge. We have kind of staff, I think, have a bit of a slanted view because it's based a lot on what we're dealing with.
yeah,
So it is good to hear that there are folks in the neighborhood that are positive toward it.
yeah. Not only that, like I said, the people that were really adamantly against it in the meetings, I run into them and I think they're more inclined to type something in Facebook as opposed to actually say something face to face. And so that's why I'm just going to talk to you right now.
Yeah.
And my son has two friends that live down there. So I go down there and then I drive through. And if I see them out and about, I stop and talk to them. They probably have a different word for it, but I stop and talk to them and visit with them about it. So,
So
Well,
a couple,
The few people that I've seen, like I said, when I went to a yard sale down there last week, I just kind of gave them a little idea of from what you guys had and Kelsey showed of what it's going to be, and they were happy. You know, they lost their trees. I think that was their negative, but other than that, you know, once we talk about what it's going to look like and how it's going to benefit that neighborhood and beyond, then they were okay. But that's just because I like to talk and try to smooth it over with people so they'll understand it's a positive thing for their neighborhood.
so my question was that the number one complaint was the tree removal? What would you see as their biggest complaint?
Who are you asking?
The biggest complaint would probably be the transitional housing that was approved at city council at 42nd Osage.
So it's not so much the park.
Not
the
the
other.
park, it's the rest of the project.
But they bring it up because it's all in the same
Yes.
area. I mean,
It's-
yes, some of them did not like the trees to be removed, but
It's run the gamut of trees to lack of road width, access to the area, the transitional housing coming in.
So with that said, in hindsight, what do you think we could have done differently or could do differently going forward?
In hindsight, I think more contact with the neighborhood prior to having solidified plans is a plus. One of the things that I ran into talking with folks was this perception of what a park means. And some people, you know, there are people who love parks no matter what, but there are other people, not the kind that would come to these meetings or be involved in parks, that have a view of parks being other people coming in to an area and attracting transients or people who otherwise wouldn't be in the neighborhood. And so if you're a relatively private person who likes things the way they are, then that means change. It means more people coming into to what maybe you feel is your space. And so I think helping people understand what parks are for and doing that outreach prior, that's what I would do differently for this particular thing. But I don't think you're ever going to solve it. But I do think that people get frustrated with a perception of you're only reaching out with me to me to do your due diligence, and you're not actually asking my permission,
engaging up
asking
front
for
ahead of
my
time.
point of view. You already have your plan of what you're going to do already. And if you can keep from having that perception, then you'll be further along, I think.
And I think that was
I
was
agree.
kind of where I thought that was heading, because I was thinking for us as a committee, I have no problem with engagement. So I guess if you needed that sort of support on these types of projects, I would have no problem on behalf of this group to take on some of these individuals and explain the positive side of why these things are happening, instead of just, here's what you get because this is what we're doing.
And speaking
I
for
agree.
speaking for myself, and not for, I assume most of my fellow staff members would agree. I don't think that we have utilized our committees as much as we can when it comes to the community engagement. And
Agree.
and really we should mobilize all of you more often to get that public feedback, to kind of bring up these ideas in the public of, hey, wouldn't this be great? And because you guys can talk to folks, and you're not paid to do this. You're just community minded people. And so that gives you a bit of a, you're not as much of a threat as staff might be, because.
Well, it is a perception people have out there. They have that preconceived perception before it's even really developed. I remember when we did the health fair and we stopped doing it. It's unfortunate. We used to have the police department there present. For a positive spin, they're there for your safety and health. But the public that were attending looked at that as a threat. I can imagine just like the Narcans handing those out. If you had police sitting there, and God bless them for what they do for our community, people would have shied away from it, So I think the perception is so much of this stuff is just the stuff they think up in their head and conjure up, and the facts don't back it. It was just like when we were addressing the individuals that are displaced on the street. There's that preconceived perception that these people are going to come in and burn your house down and steal your stuff. And it's not there, it just isn't. So I think that's where this group could probably help in the future, going to talk to groups or being at those public things to put that positive spin on what's the benefits of having this park here, this transitional housing. I've already heard some of the stuff out on the street about this transitional housing, and I'm thinking, it's not, if you got drug houses in the neighborhood, the question is, why would you put houses in there? But it changes the environment to get landlords to clean up their messes and be responsible, and it actually drives it away. It doesn't attract it in. So I think, like I said, the more we can put those types of spins on these things, the better. You'll get less than that stuff.
Well, and having it come from volunteers, like staff could say that exact same thing. But I think the community would listen more to the volunteers. We could have the same narrative, but coming from you compared to us is a completely different narrative. Yeah. And so I think that Blair is right, utilizing you more than just health fairs and, harvest festivals, I think is,
we still want your help on those things.
Yes. Yes, please.
So I came here today with an idea for that. So specifically for the park down at this 42nd and Osage, and we're going to need to name it. And I had a thought that people don't understand what a community park is. That community, that's what it's designed for, is the people that live in that area. So you can tell me I'm wrong, which my wife will many more times today, but I thought it'd be really good if we had a sheet that showed a map of the area that is expected usage of that park. And then when we get ready to name it, we would put some names that the committee came up with for that as some recommendations and then some options for people to pick. And maybe we would go out and present that to every one of those homes in that community and listen to the feedback we get from it. I thought that would be a good way to get public input into it because everybody doesn't read the paper, use Facebook, whatever other things that I don't know about. That's as far as I go with reading stuff, but it would be a good way to actually get it out there and let them feel like they have, well, not just let them feel, they'd have some input into it as to what
Can I
their
say
thoughts were.
something? Can I say
We-
something?
We haven't restricted you yet. Go ahead.
It's a different committee, but, we're trying to revitalize Share again. And I brought this up at our last meeting a while back. Well, when it was original, I went out to every business all the way to Foster, and there was like 85 of them. Anyway, different than the business, but it is amazing when you reach out to the average person and let them know and involve them. It is so appreciated. And I totally agree with what Wally says and all of you guys are saying. We have to get out there and we have to reach the people more and let them know they're part of our community. It's not just, City Hall making, laws and all that kind of stuff, but we care about what they think. I totally agree with that. That's it.
The only thing I'd like to point out is, because I find this amazing, that when you tell somebody you're on the Park and Tree Committee, they think you're part of the staff. So you have to tell them right up front, hey, I'm just a volunteer on the Park and Tree Committee. And, and I do this because I don't know what it was. I was doing something somewhere and it was with the dog park. And I was because I keep going down to Northside to talk to people about it. And then, I tell them what we did and they said, and then they go, well, that's, it's good that you're getting paid to go do that. And I go, no, I just volunteer. And they said, so you drove to all these parks and looked at all this stuff and you're just volunteering? I'm like, yeah, that's what volunteering is about, is you volunteer to go do this stuff. And they don't have any clue that people are volunteering and doing this stuff. So just for our committee, it's important to make sure people know you're not part of Blair's minions out there doing stuff.
Because I have so many minions. I wish I had minions. I think that's a really good point. Sometimes I'm flabbergasted by what I run into.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. People don't know what they don't know. And sometimes they
Right.
just don't have any experience with anything like this. And their head goes immediately to, it must be your job.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
No,
Okay.
it's appreciated.
Well,
I would like to say thank you for all the work you all do. You guys are very active and have been very helpful. So I appreciate everything you do so far, above and beyond.
I'm glad you threw so far in there. It's coming.
That's right.
Because maybe
That's
something
right.
we might do in the future we might not appreciate as much. It's actually-
You never know. You guys can kind of go rogue. Well, okay, there might be one of you that goes rogue sometimes, but the others don't, just letting you know. No, I do
I
appreciate
have
everything
not-
you guys do.
I do not expect any problems in the future, just clarifying that.
All right. How about a Weddell Bridge update? It's still there, I noticed.
It is still there. Me? You know more than I do.
I
think
was
so.
just going to bring up that the three of us met, but I can't remember the gentleman's name from,
From Lynn
yeah,
County.
from Lynn County.
We did meet with a gentleman from Lynn County. It's on.
Get it moving.
Gotta be close.
So we did meet with a guy from Lynn County. He kind of is the streets transportation person that's over a lot of their covered bridges and has had a couple of restorations. He did tell us that funding for the bridge is, because it's been taken off a state highway or any type of a highway and then brought into a park, it now doesn't meet really the definition for funding for either transportation funds. And so another case that is similar to this is Mill City had a bridge that they recently redid that wasn't on a highway, that was in a park or somewhere off highway. And they struggled to find funding to rehab that bridge. And I think ultimately they created a group or a committee group or some sort of a funding source, and they actively pursued the restoration of that bridge.
It was more of a grassroots effort on their part.
Yeah. And so they kind of suggested that we kind of look at some of those avenues. We do have some funding in this year's budget, and I don't know that I've heard couple different numbers. I thought it was lower, but I've heard a
I
higher
have the
number.
numbers on my desk.
And so he was going to evaluate the report that the structural engineer that did for us. And so he was going to take a look at that, and he gave us some requirements on how to preserve it and some other things. And so we're kind of looking at that. But I think ultimately with what we need to do to this bridge is we don't have the funding. We don't have enough funding to keep wet material, the rain, the wind out of the inside of it. And that was one of the things he suggested, is that some of the covered bridges, why they're open, I guess for aesthetics, but the wind and the rain, the moisture that gets inside does more damage than just sunlight itself and other things. And so that southwest facing side has a lot of rot in it, and we've had some other issues with the timbers inside, and so those what need to be replaced. The unfortunate thing is to replace those inside timbers, you almost have to take the roof off. You're now getting into how you rebuild this thing, and it's almost you need to take it down to the ground and build it back up. And so we are going to need to probably try to find some funding for that.
Greg, just to interject there too, I do have it on my list of things to do. Not at the top right this second, but to reach out to Mill City and have a discussion with them about the steps that they took and how they were able to get the community involved. And so that is on my list of tasks to do, is to reach out to them and just get some ideas of how they went about that. So hopefully, as we get a little bit farther in the process, I'm still trying to work on Sankey Park, and I'm going to meet with the Woodworkers Guild about the bandstand. So that's higher on my priority right now, but then I will be touching base with Mill City just to get some ideas, see what they did. So.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we're at with it. I think we were making an attempt to want to rip that floor off and put some new flooring in, but for us to do that, there's a lot more extensive work that has to happen. And we also want to be cognitive of not redoing work. And so I think we're kind of looking at all those options right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
So is the Mill City meeting something that we could do for you? Go up there,
This
find
group.
out who the people are, visit with
Talk to
them,
them, ask
ask them
questions.
questions.
It's going to
just
be
bring
a
information
community
back.
effort.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad idea.
I don't think that's a bad idea either. All indications from what we've heard, at least, that they have a pretty good model of that fits our needs pretty closely.
And they're,
So
they're a smaller city, and they were able to, I think it was like Save the Bridge campaign. I can't remember exactly what they called it, but they were able to get enough funding to fix it. So if you all want to take that on and take it off my plate, I would welcome that.
Well, to me, if you have a punch list of what you want to ask, and we
Well, we have
that.
the engineering report, and one of the things that the Lynn County guy that we talked to, I sent him a copy of the report and asked him before we start asking for funds. So there's a lot on that list of order of operations, so that we're not repairing one thing and then we have to take that back out to repair something else. So I asked him to kind of put together the steps. You need to do this first before you get to this stage. So, because we all think, oh, let's just do the floor and we'll do the rest later. Well, that may not be an order.
Yeah, and
So-
that would have been my question, is what's the big first thing we need to do?
Yeah.
Is it the structure support underneath before you ever lay the deck?
Yeah,
mean,
so I
it's a
did ask him,
process.
and I don't have an email from him yet, so I might want to get his contact and reach out. I'm sure I have it somewhere,
we
but
were all in that the last email.
Yeah, so I need to
I
look at
would
it.
recommend too that if we get to the point where we have some sort of meeting or go out and meet with Mill City, I think a couple staff members, I'd be
Mhm.
willing to go as well. Just to kind of hear those
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I was
for
thinking,
the
ask some
purposes,
of the better questions.
Yeah.
Like, just
well, my thought process was it's just me, but they had to have a plan. And they had to have it all laid out in a timeline and how they did funding, all the different branches of it. and just see if I can get a copy of that. And then ask them what they learned from these different segments. You know, is there something you would have done different?
Yeah.
And fill those in, and that should give us a complete,
So
you know.
We can always
how
do
they
a
did-
Zoom, we can always do a team Zoom meeting too, so
Oh,
that,
yeah.
you know, we're not having to travel. We can
Now,
come in
one-
here and we
one
can
thing to-
do that.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind, it's a different, they have a different bridge than ours, different problems than ours, different
Yeah.
setting than ours. So we're not really interested, well, I mean, it'd be good to know, I'm sure, but we don't need to know the technical specifications
Yeah.
of what was repaired on their bridge or whatever.
Right.
What we
Right.
mainly are looking at is what are the mechanisms they use for fundraising and
Yeah.
for outreach. And that is really what, you know, we can certainly provide some of the technical details to you of what's wrong with the bridge and the reports and
that
things like
already.
that. And yeah, you probably have that report already.
Yeah.
But suffice it to say, for the purposes of meeting with Mill City, we need a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we don't have very many avenues to get it
Yeah.
from traditional state funds. And so we really want to learn from their experience of the community engagement and raising of the funds, because we certainly can back up any effort that we have here that mimics theirs. We can back it up with data, no problem.
Yeah.
We can provide all that. We can, and the point of what do we do when it comes to repairing the bridge, that's being worked on. We want to have that because, you know, we don't want to rework. We want to do things, you know, as we make improvements, we want to make the most important one first for keeping the bridge up, but also the improvements that we're not going to have to take everything apart to do later. And then hopefully keep an eye toward future maintenance and future protection of the bridge as we move forward to keep this so that we can make this as long-term an effort as possible. So having all that to support the public campaign, because people want to know that their money is being used in an appropriate way. They want to know, they want some reassurance that it's not going to be throwing it down a toilet. And I think we can provide all that information.
That was my thought process with going there, was to figure out how they got money or supplies and people, businesses to build, work, fit in with the whole program. And then do you have a meeting? Because I assume they put together a committee and they probably, now they want to maintain it and manage it. And then I thought that would be really good to be able to express to this community that we're not reinventing the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to use their wheel and make it better and redo our bridge with it. So,
Well, Mill City and Sweet Home are very much similar in a lot of different ways, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, they both were affected by the same thing many years ago, and they're logging Mill City. And so that model could really fit in to what we have here.
Yeah.
So,
And I
and
do,
I think we've got some logging companies and other things that if they get on board, it could work.
yeah.
and I do want to just, this is something that is very important, but I do want to caution talking to the public about it yet, because we're still
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to finish
Yeah.
Slinky Park.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure we don't jump over the one that we're still trying to finish right now. So, and hopefully I will, my hope with the Woodworkers Guild is to get them on board, and that will provide us some match.
Yeah.
And so that's the hope with them. So, so I just want to keep that
Oh,
at
yeah.
the back of everybody's mind, that I think this is a great opportunity, and I think that hopefully they will. I don't like reinventing a wheel.
Yeah.
And if they have a wheel that works great, you know, and we can take from that and learn from that, then I'm all for it. So
Is this bridge registered?
no, it is not.
Could it be? Well, I mean, there's some things, if you register,
Well-
you're going to comply to what that registry says
Yeah.
you can and cannot do
You
with
mean
that
as like a
bridge.
on the historic registry?
I would say at the state that it's in right now, I would not recommend it until we are done.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Because
saying. I just
because
kind
we-
of wondering where we're at with that
It
one.
may cost us double if we registered it before
Yeah.
we did
And it
that.
doesn't bring in as much funding as people
Mm-mm.
think.
Yeah. Well, like I said, when you register something like that, now you adhere to the guidelines of what they say you can and cannot do.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, well, there's a bridge here. We got wooden beams under it, but what happened if you had steel I-beams underneath this thing versus the wood to support? At least it's out of sight, out of mind, but you see it. You don't see it, so it supports it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is one thing that I had to look into when we did the last Sankey Park project, is you have to list any historic structures in there, and we looked and none of the structures actually were listed as historic. So
There was
none
a-
of them had been registered.
Yeah, there was an attempt at one point that some of the work had been done, but it never got actually
got
done.
completed.
Got the dots and the Ts crossed, so.
Mhm.
There's a few challenges with having it listed because it wasn't originally built there. It was completely disassembled and then placed there not that long ago. So when it was placed, its timeline and its current location makes it challenging.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think your point about I-beams is good. I don't want to build a bridge the same way they would have built it 100 years ago. I want to build it something that's going to last longer than that, if we can. And I'm not saying we build it out of concrete or anything, because that's going to be much more expensive and not be what we want. But if there are measures we can take as we replace things to use either pressure treated or something that will make it last even longer, that's really what we want to do. Try to use people's funds as appropriately as possible.
I agree. Well, so if there's no qualms, I'll just make an initial reach out to the Mill City to get names, of who to talk to, and then I'll come back and we'll put together a plan. I don't know how to say that, but there we go. I'm not against a Zoom meeting, but I really like doing things face to face with people, because I know in Zoom you can look at their faces, but I really want to sit right in front of someone.
No, I agree. I'm
talk
just,
to them. Yeah,
if it got to a point where there was a lot of us that needed to meet that, and they couldn't come here, we
Right.
couldn't come there, that's also.
yeah, I can't imagine they wouldn't give me financial information of how they acquired it, and then if there's things that they don't want me to know, there's probably those things we don't want to do. So,
Well, and actually that's a good point. The primary question I would ask him is what didn't work, so that
Yeah.
we don't do that same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's a couple people up there that were in that committee that would be a load of information.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine them not wanting, if they're really concerned about a bridge, I can't imagine them not wanting to help preserve another one. So,
Yeah.
if they don't have to do anything. So,
I'd be happy to join you
yeah.
on a road trip and go
Okay.
visit.
All right, well, I'll take that on. Another bridge thing. I've been gone for like a month and a half. And when I drove back through town, I knew the other bridge got moved, but I never got a chance to see it. And I'll just say this, just for me, it was really impressive to drive by and see that sitting there in front of City Hall. And then since then, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I've noticed a lot of people stopping at it. And I've been surprised, like the number of cars that I find when I drive around, just how many people are stopping and are out on that bridge. So I think that was it's my opinion, that was an extremely wise move.
Hey, Wally, did you know that was the stopping point to have the picture taken during Cut
Yeah.
the Gut?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, because I was in on the plan for it, but I actually thought it was out back initially, but yeah, that was it looks really, really nice out there. And it's not something that's hard to see. As people said, they were worried it was going to be because I came from the east, and it caught my eye right away.
Well, and it has the nice background with the trees and the park
Yeah.
area, so yeah.
So kudos to the Public Works for getting on it right. I mean, immediately they started cleaning it, painting it, put the walkway in there. They did a really fast job. Thanks, Greg, to
Yeah.
the crew.
I'll pass it on.
Okay, so the other new business item that just wasn't listed here, but it's obviously new business, is the Harvest Festival. And it's only, what, 9 weeks away? Just saying.
No, it's less than that. I think it's for
Yeah,
six,
closer than
maybe
you think.
6 or 7.
yeah. So we have the pie competition again. So I have judges,
Okay.
so we're set for that part.
Oh, good.
Wow.
What else do we need to do?
So I talked to the New Era this morning. There will be ads coming out in the New Era. There'll be a couple of them. He's sending me quotes so I can decide how many. We'll not only have a large, just full Harvest Festival ad, but there will be individual pie contest and chili cook-off ads. I will also be putting ads in the Democrat Herald. So just so visually we can get it see, because right now I don't have any contestants, but we're just overwhelmed with stuff, so I haven't reached out. So I've just started that. We had our meeting yesterday for Harvest Festival planning. So you should start seeing a lot more of the advertising, a lot more of the reaching out. Adam's been posting it periodically on Facebook. So if the event that is on Facebook, if you get on there and share it, that is helpful to us to share it out to all of your people that you have on Facebook. And then that way it starts getting out, including the contest. There's a separate one for the contest from just the regular event.
Right.
So if you go and share that, then it gets further out with the audience. So
You never get any things submitted until the week before anyway for the.
it's usually the mass in the end, and I'm going,
Yeah.
how are we going to fit all this in type of thing. So
Yeah.
right now, my biggest issue is, I've been trying to get food trucks for a long time. I have too many.
Oh.
So I'm having to turn people away. I have
That's a
too many
good
trucks
problem.
and booths. Oh yeah. The problem is room and electrical. So I moved them so we can allow a few quiet generators. So I moved them away from the music area. We're still working out the logistics of it, but yeah, for the first time, I've been trying to get food trucks for years, and now all of a sudden, I don't know what to do with them all. So, which would be great. There'll be lots of food options this year. So, usually when I say I have a problem, it's actually a good problem. It's, but I'm limited to the amount of space I have. So, I think right now I have, minus the food trucks, I have 52 vendors signed up. So, and there are actually some other events going on that day. So I was afraid that there would be less, but actually we're doing pretty good on the numbers. So, and there's usually a lot of people that sign up toward the end. So,
Angela, I have a question for you. So do you send an email out, invite people that did the pies before to come back?
yes, I do. I've done that. I did that right before I even posted it on our website.
Well, Larry didn't get one, but I'll sweet talk him
Okay.
to do one again.
I'll send it out again.
Maybe
Okay,
that's because his ended up on the curb, right?
one of them did.
Okay.
So
Trip.
I know, Angela, in the past, we've had like Costco pies, so we could sell more pie slices
Mhm.
after we go through the contestants' pies. If you want, I will volunteer to do the
Okay.
Costco run. That saves you
Okay.
an extra errand running
Mhm.
when we get closer.
And does that go well? The extra pies?
Yeah,
Do we
we
sum
sold
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
I don't.
Everything went.
We've never had leftover pie.
Oh, that's
And,
good.
and this year you said you're moving us next to the ice cream.
He's not coming.
Oh,
So you guys are probably going to be up closer to the bridge.
Okay.
In a little, near where the tree is. You're going to be closer to like the actual food area.
okay.
Right now, that's your proposed area. We
Okay.
took a look yesterday, we looked at the map and we looked at kind of a better place, because I don't want to put you in an area, there's a lot of areas that are open, but they get really muddy. And so I'm trying to keep people out of the muddy areas. And unfortunately, that time of year, we never know how muddy it's going to be. And that's an area that stays fairly dry and also gets a lot of traffic because it's close to the kid zone. And this
So,
year in the kid zone, we're going to be having a mullet contest and a mullet parade for the youth.
Really?
So, and it's going to be in that area. So yes, the library is sponsoring the mullet contest. So if kids have great mullets, have them come out. So,
So
Are you
Angela,
talking about haircuts?
What was
Mullet
that?
haircuts?
mullet, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
Mhm.
Angela, did you think about asking the dairy farmers to bring their ice cream like they do at the county fair?
Well, there's a gentleman that does it every year, and part of the problem is with them, it's the temporary restaurant license that they have to get, and some of them, the cost of it, whether they make up the cost of it or not, is kind of the issue, and so that's been the issue with the ice cream. So if you have a contact for those, send it to me. If you know anybody that might be interested that has that would be great. But so far, some of the hurdles are the restaurant license. Like we have to have a temporary restaurant license also because of our chili cook-off, because of the pie bake-off. Ours is a little bit different than individuals because we're a city entity and we're putting on an event. So ours is a benevolent license. I don't have to renew it every year. But others have to do individually. So each time they move their food, they have to have a license for each location. So it can add up depending on what they do each year.
Yeah.
So.
If anybody
I'll have
knows
to-
anybody
I'll
who
have-
wants to be an ice cream vendor,
Mhm.
I think it would sell really well.
I said
Yeah.
Dairy Queen.
By the way,
ask,
just, you'd asked the
I'm
question, how was our pie selling? At the end last year, I do remember this crystal clear. There was quite a few people that were trying to buy slices. And I remember some people would say, okay, well, just give me one slice so they can have some. And that's all we had left. And there were people came up after that looking for
Okay.
pie. So
That's good.
that's a memory that I have. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Somebody took the last piece of the walnut pie that was left, and then they were sharing it because it was so awesome. So I just remember that they wanted more, and then two people both wanted it, and it's like, wow, we can't get rid of stuff. So
Okay.
So-
No, that's good to know.
we don't have enough.
I have another, so a couple years ago at the Jamboree, they sold ice cream. Does anybody remember which group that was? I thought it was like the Rotary or some group. I can ask Peggy at the Jamboree office who that, vendor was.
So the Rotary is doing kettle corn.
Okay,
So
I
they do.
didn't really mean that they were the one. I'm just saying
Oh,
some
okay.
group did the ice cream. And at the Jamboree, I remember that because we would buy it from them. But let me ask Peggy, or you can, whoever, and see if they remember who that was.
Okay, so keep in mind also, I'm very limited to electricity. And so
Okay.
right now I'm at a point where I can't take anymore because I've got to talk to the guys. We did add some extra outlets. We may have to get another spider box, but I have to make sure that we have the outlet that we could plug the spider box into. Right now we have two outlets. And so I'm waiting for people to come back from vacation so I can get that information. Dominic took my map that shows what's where.
Oh.
And so right now I'm kind of on a holding pattern. A couple of the food booths that want to join, I told them I'm going to have to hold off until I find out, but they're on my wait list at this point. So until I can get that figured out.
Angela, if a vendor wanted to sell ice cream that was already made somewhere,
Mhm.
wouldn't they just need a food handler's permit?
It depends. So some just have to have food handlers, but if you're selling, a lot of them need temporary restaurant permits. So
What if we had a few coolers and bought ice cream and sold scoops on the pie?
that would be under our benevolent license because you're serving it under the city's license.
Yeah.
Now I need to make sure because with the chili cook-off, the health department, we can only, I guess that's the free samples, we can only serve up to 3 ounces. So I need to find out how that works I can find that out and make sure that that still falls under the licensure.
I have a food handler's card.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we have to have
Forgot my
food,
wallet.
we have to have food handlers cards at all of them, and I knew you got yours, so I wasn't worried about it. And only one person has to have it, their license, so.
Just get lots
And
of
we
dry
can
ice.
have
and
our,
get
we
cool.
can have our donation jar there.
Yeah.
Yep, it's under the desk right now.
So one of the other important parts of that for this committee is you're going to need help beyond that in the morning, correct?
Yes,
So that morning, I just want people to start putting this in their calendar. So that morning at 7 o'clock, seems like our normal show time to start getting set up for parking, directing people around. That's kind of a big deal. And specifically getting people the vendors in where they're supposed to go and getting them to agree that that's where they're going to go. And then getting them to agree you're going to help them unload quickly and get their vehicle out of the way. So,
and if you want to volunteer for that, let me know because there is now a vendor handbook. And I will send it to you so that you know what they were supposed to read
Yeah.
and it's supposed to follow through on.
Yep.
I actually took some time this year and actually came up with a handbook for it. So
Okay.
it's not much different than what you were doing.
Yeah.
I need to get them a little bit farther off the path, and there's going to be a couple areas that we're not going to allow trailers in because of the food trucks, but not much different than
Yeah.
what it's been, but
Yeah. So we
And
can.
by the way, I'm not going to take my vintage trailer because I wouldn't have enough space.
okay.
So I'm just going to do my table and stuff for my kids' store.
Okay. I don't think, you haven't signed up yet though, have you?
Yeah, I did. I already paid my money.
Oh yeah, you did. Never mind. You're on here. I just
Okay.
have a note that says trailer question mark.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had enough room to put a table out. Everybody would have had to go inside the trailer. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys would mark that down on your calendar. I remember last year when we did it, there was a lot of need right in the beginning to get people parked in different places and to guide people around. And I think we got lucky last year that my two boys were parking people, and they're not exactly, they're kind of like me. They're pretty
Blunt.
You're going to get told what you're going to do. And I think because they were young kids, the people didn't argue with them for some reason. Seems backwards, but I know Joey was very adamant with people on, you have to get unloaded and I'm going to help you.
He was good.
And that's what's helpful too, if we have enough, especially around that backside, of having people periodically staged back there to not only help direct, but, you know, we ask them to get unloaded, go park, and then come back and set up. So it's nice to have a few people along there to help them get the stuff out of their rigs so then they can go park. And that's where the boys were great about doing that last year, and having enough people spread along there makes that run a lot smoother, because, you know, our transportation, yeah, Greg and Adam have that down to a T where, you know, we see a backup, they hold off, and then as soon as we clear up a little bit, they'll radio, they add more people in. So that seems to be working pretty good. Now we do have people that take a little longer than other people, but, you know, it's so far we haven't had too many issues, and it's gone way better than what we did in the past. So it makes it so you don't get overwhelmed trying to unpack people and trying to get them in their place.
Yep. So I was just trying to really motivate people to get there to help unpack people, because that was the biggest thing. If we had more people helping people unpack, it would have went a lot smoother getting them in. And the only thing that I don't think we can fix this was figuring out how they get in sequentially, because I was parking them on this one little side piece to let another couple through, because they were in the second spot in, and these other people behind them had to go.
It's whenever they arrive.
Yeah, I
but,
know.
You know, we
So it's
can't
just
get them to, yeah. And I do have one of our other staff members, Ray, he has volunteered to help too, so I'll probably put him in that. He said wherever we need to throw him. And
Yep.
so that's probably an area that I'll throw him, so.
Okay.
So one more thing, I thought that I would just do a small table. We can have our info on the Bandstand Community Center, Sankey Bridge, and the park maps, just a real limited, just a branding for us. And so,
Do you want it by the pies or do you want it at the city booth? Because we have a city informational booth too.
Or you could put materials of both.
Yeah, you could do both.
I think we should have it, yeah, like that or by the pies, because while they're being judged and stuff like that, people still come around and going, when are we going to get our pie? Anyway, and that we can use that time to talk to them
we
about
can
the
talk to
park.
people. Yeah.
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 Okay.
You'll probably get more traffic at the pie booth than you will at the city info
Yeah.
booth.
And we'll put the parks brochures at the city booth also.
Can you go ahead? We're going to need some more.
Need more?
Need more. If you could do another
Every
printing.
slice of pie goes that way.
That'd be great.
About the parks.
Yep.
Everybody's still there? Okay.
Yes.
Yep. How many more do you think we need? Another 100?
Why don't we do another 100 and
Okay.
that'll cover us.
Okay, so that was the other new business that I know we needed to cover, was the Harvest Festival. So for the round table, does anybody have anything that's
Yes, I do.
pressing?
I do too.
I do too.
I know you do for the trees.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is that what you were gonna cover?
I was gonna Molly's tree
Yeah.
and Molly's plaque.
I was gonna have,
So I'm still waiting on the funeral home.
Okay.
So it's up to them to, I'm
I know they're
Yeah.
way behind on the
Yeah, they're,
plat, so
so until they can get back to me, but they have it.
I
They
just
have-
hadn't touched base with you for a while.
Yep, yep, I'm waiting on the funeral home for
Okay.
it, so.
And it looks like it's dying. Now, I went in there and looked at it yesterday, and I do see some new growth on it. And I went down to the creek and bought a couple of gallons of water and put on it. All the grass inside is green. So it looks like
Yeah.
it is getting some water, but it was really scary there during the jamboree. It was really sad.
So I went out when you contacted me, I went out and took a look and realized I never went out and looked at our new trees after the kind of that big heat wave in the
Me
first
too.
part of July. And what I've noticed is that dogwood at Sankey, two of the maples at Evergreen, and our elms at Northside, they look scorched. And almost like my theory is, June was pretty lush, mild temperatures, then boom, it just got hot. And so they have that scorched appearance. The outer leaves are scorched. Down where there's shade, there's green. That's
Did you pull some leaves off that one? That dogwood?
I don't think it's dead. I think it's just struggling
Yeah, 'cause I see some
because of
growth
the
on
heat.
there.
And so I'd sent a note out a few weeks ago to Dominic and Sean, hey, can you up the irrigation? Because all of those trees should be getting some irrigation with the systems that are in existence. So, yeah, we just need to get them through till the rains come and then kind of evaluate. I don't think they're dead, and I've seen like what I would call scorching on other hardwoods around the area. So it's kind of
Evergreen,
weird.
those two trees look like, because they're in the center, aren't they?
And that's what's confusing to me is you got one that's beautiful and the other two are really scorched, but the lawn is green. So I'm a little concerned about those.
So Lena, I went some town, I don't even remember where it was, but they all had the water bags around the trees. And
Mhm.
didn't kind of talk about maybe that would be an option.
Yeah, I offered that up to Sean and Dominic. I haven't heard back from those guys, but if Dominic's out, that is an option, is to do the water bags on the trees that probably aren't getting enough irrigation. So, I mean, the evergreen trees, this is like their third summer in the ground. They should be fairly well established. The elms at Northside, this is second year, and then tough year for the dogwood at Sankey. On the plus side, all those Leyland cypress we planted at Northside are beautiful, but they're very, very drought resistant. So they look fine. So
I think we maybe keep an eye on them for the next 3 days, and if we're gonna think about replacing them, we should probably do it sooner than later.
yeah, any replacement we need to do in the depth of winter during the rainy season.
And I haven't seen the other one, that's why I'm saying evergreen, I had seen, I was up in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And actually caught my eye, so when you said
Yeah.
it triggered a memory. But those for me look like they're, because it's such a drastic change from the one to the others.
I know.
And so it doesn't, and you're right, the park looked fine.
And they don't have any damage to them. I'm
They just looked
Cool.
dried up.
yeah, there's some green in there. Yeah, so I'm just confused because I looked at everything in June and everything had leafed out and looked wonderful. And then I kind of forgot about it through the heat wave of July until Deb hollered at me and I'm like, yeah, I
And,
should go
and I'm not a
look.
tree person, but, and we had a harsh, colder winter too. We were colder for longer periods of time, right?
Yeah,
And
but our
I-
spring was nice and mild, and things looked really lush this spring. And I'm thinking it was just that transition into early July with, 100-degree plus, just kind of another heat dome effect.
But we had 5-6 days. of
Yeah, it's just,
ice
it's
as
rough
well.
to get trees growing.
Yes, it is.
So one thought, and then if you think that's bad, I've talked about emerald ash borer before. It's knocking at our door because now it's in Marion County. So the emerald ash borer is a little tiny green metallic beetle, and it will kill ash trees. And so our risks here are really, we have a few trees in our parks and street trees. There's a couple by the post office that are ash. There's one out at Northside that's an ash. I think I've got most of them inventoried. We will not plant more ash trees as street trees, which is a bummer because they're nice street trees. But the biggest risk is Hobart, which is an oak ash swale wetland. And if it gets in there, then basically our native ash they're gonna die. I mean, they haven't been able to control it back east, so I'm not so sure there's too much hope here. So it's in, it was found originally in Washington County, it's in Yamhill, it's in Clackamas, and now Marion. So, yeah.
Oh,
I did send some info to Dominic and Sean, resources like how to identify the beetle, because there's a lot of green metallic beetles, but how to look for damage on the bole of the tree to see when we've got it. So keep your eyes out, I guess.
It's not if, it's when.
It's pretty much a when. If it gets into ash, I mean, if you've got, a few on a street, you can apply pesticide to the trees and perhaps save them. But unfortunately, sometimes they're too far gone by the time you notice it. But something like Hobart in a natural area, it would be prohibitively expensive to treat those trees. So that's a bummer.
Blair, you're gonna have to look in your backyard,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
right there
when
in
you
the
get-
court.
Yeah.
I'll send Henry out.
I mean, the hole that they make is tiny, but it's D-shaped. It's really distinctive. It's a D on its side with the flat edge on the bottom.
Interesting.
Fits
Mm.
their head. Yeah.
That's weird.
So anyway,
Weird.
like I said, I sent resources over from OSU to Sean and Dominic. If we see something, let's take a hard look. We can get the folks out from OSU to take a look, and let's
Lena, what was the name of that beetle again?
called the emerald ash borer.
Emerald ash borer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay,
All righty.
any others as we close up today?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Okay,
Okay, I know we talked about it. Hope we don't get in trouble for it. But we want to, if it's okay, can we just buy our own new polo shirt? We like the one that Wally was wearing at the fair, and then have whoever put the logo on it for us, because my shirt is shot. I'm embarrassed to wear it. It's got bleach on it, what is it, 5 years old now or something? Anyway, so I know you guys have said before, it's really not in the budget, but we're all willing to purchase our own shirt if it's the same color. I know Old Navy has all their stuff on sale 50% right now.
Well, we do have another resource for shirts and printing now. And they are able to do small batches. So we were able to do like 1 or 2 shirts. So we do have that option now. Again, I'm going to have to check with we haven't looked into the budget since we have a new budget yet of what that is. But we can look into it. But we do now have a new source for printing these, and we don't have to do multiples at a time now. So
Well, that would be great. I think all of us would like to have one.
Okay, so if we could get a show of hands from the committee, how many need or want a city logo shirt?
I
Okay,
think mine's well, actually,
4 or 5 of you.
You lost yours.
I think I
Tank
still have, I have all your sizes still. So.
Tank
All right.
tops.
All right, we'll look into it and send an email out. Keep an eye on your email.
Can you find the ones that have that really silky, sporty material?
Silky.
Oh, kind of like the dry weave type or whatever.
Yeah,
that
it's not the traditional polyester
Okay.
polo. It's
Right.
I don't see anybody wearing
It's the ones
that
Yeah.
material.
Wally had it on.
I think
the
it's
other
the same that I got, Ray.
Matthew's got a city shirt that has that. It's actually, I think it's a Nike brand.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
it's the same type of shirt I just ordered for our building permit tech. So I
Yeah.
think it's the same
I mean,
material.
they're
I'll
kind
show
of,
you, I'll bring my shirt down,
Okay.
the one I was wearing. It's a Hawkeye shirt. Iowa Hawkeyes, national champions this year. I just want to say. Anyways, that shirt was, the thought process behind that shirt, just so it's known, is we end up doing a lot of outside stuff in the summer when it's roasting hot. And
Yep.
when it is cooler out, we have the jacket to put
Yeah.
on, which holds the heat in really well. So I was like, we can get something cooler
Okay.
for all the hot days.
Yep.
We're covered for the cold days.
Sounds good.
Right.
So, and you can wear a sweatshirt or something under your jacket if you're, if you're cold.
Okay, I'll
Right.
get a quote, I'll get a quote from them and then we'll talk to the powers that be about budget.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. If
Thank
there's
you.
no others.
Last thing from staff, August 29th, I think, is the deadline for anyone who wants to run for city council.
Oh,
We have, just so you're aware, there are 4 seats open. Only one incumbent, I believe, is running from what I've heard. So,
Andrew.
this particular election could be a huge change, on the city council with, possibly 4 new faces. So, if you know of anybody who is interested, or you want to support someone who is running, please do so. We highly encourage, community-minded folks to exert their positive vibes, because we see plenty of the negative ones.
August 29th, you say?
August 29th, I believe, is Thursday, the 20th. Is that the right date? I think it is. Last Thursday in August.
But you have to be in the city limits.
To run, you have to be in, and to vote, you have to be in city limits, but you can certainly support
yes.
people.
And we do have one that we talked about
Support.
because it wasn't park related. So we talked about it at the health fair of how we're going to support this person.
Well, that's not a city business thing. That's
Yeah.
that's on your own time.
Well, I'm just letting you know, we have one that we're
Okay.
behind
Well,
that we know of.
I'm just cautioning you that this is a public meeting and you don't need to,
Oh, okay.
to announce any.
Got it.
But yeah, we encourage all the public to be involved and run if they wish to.
Yep.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chairperson,
Yeah.
what day is the Harvest Festival, please?
It is October 5th, the first Saturday of October.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chairperson. did I answer that? You gave me that look like.
Yeah. I was like, it's the 5th, right? That's my memory was, but I wasn't looking at my phone. So as we close out the meeting, I would just like to make a firm statement that yellow jackets are of the devil, and please eliminate all of them you can.
Thanks.
I agree.
Your public service announcement of the
I'm
day.
in pain again today. So,
I'm sorry.
Oh my
all right.
gosh.
This will conclude our August 21st meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless.
Maybe you ought to just.
Yeah. Oh, I did. Well, I did the one hole. They're calm. They're
All right.
cool. They didn't mind dying.